count? Was that count right? Really? 2754? Oh my goodness. Hi everyone. Welcome into Women Unscripted. We are back. I know it seems like we were just here like yesterday, but it's been a whole month since we've been here, and it's exciting because we have a lot to share. We're hoping that your life is continuing on down a very positive path, and if you have some challenges like we do in these crazy times, and I'm glad you're tuning in because we love our shows to be inspirational, motivational. It's all about love, laughter, and even sometimes we have some tears of joy and tears of whatever, but that's what Women Unscripted is all about. Right, girls? I just want to go ahead if you're tuning in for the first time, we have two special surprises today that has never been on Women Unscripted before, but I would like to introduce one of two of my besties that are here live in the studio. That happens to be Helena Trangata, also known as Tinkerbella, because she spreads her fairy dust around in the community, from rocking babies to working charities and all of that. So amazing. Welcome, my dear friend. It's so good to see you guys. I just want to keep hugging you. And then to my right is Chrysula. She is also one of our besties, and she is actually one of our master trainers, and she's doing Chrysula's tours in Tarpon Springs, and she's just a well-rounded young lady, and she's also
a young lady. I like that.
A triathlete.
Oh, yes.
Is that it? I get that all mixed up. And she's doing a lot of training for that, and we're just enjoying our life the very best way we can in times of change, since we've had that. I don't even want to give it the energy, the word, the C word. But I do want to bring on two more gals that have become my besties and family, not only in business but in personal, and that happens to be Louise Zeller and Emily Thorpe, and I'm so glad to have you guys here today. How fun is this? So Mary Louise is the left of your screen. Mary Louise is a 9-time world martial arts champion. Yeah, raise your hand, Mary Louise. Here and present on Women Unscripted. And she is also a business partner with Kayani. And we also want to introduce our dear friend Emily Thorpe, who is a professional ballroom dancer. She's also part of the Kayani team.
And she's 12.
And no, she's not. But she's been on these products for how many years, right?
The whole thing.
Look how beautiful her skin is.
Isn't that true, right? No, she's really not 12. Whoever thought somebody in their 30s needed to anti-age, but it's clearly happening to you, my dear.
Oh, my goodness. You need before and after pictures.
I know. This is really great. So Mary Louise has been on the show before, and so has Emily on a business show, actually, and that was always fun. But for Women Unscripted, I don't know if you guys have had a chance to see the show or not, but we're pretty live and unrehearsed, and I thought we would all gather together and share a little bit of wisdom. Do you have some wisdom today?
No, I have no wisdom.
Oh, okay. She's just going to sit here and giggle. That's okay. That's all right. I know you do.
I said
she doesn't either.
We're always very unscripted.
Mary Louise and Emily, it's up to us three. They have no wisdom today.
We'll just follow what y'all say.
Oh, and just say okay, like a puppet,
okay.
right?
Okay. Because she can't move.
I'm not allowed to move.
We did have quite a conversation before the show, as we always do when we're here connected live in the studio, and maybe someday
I wonder
Emily
how
and
much
Mary Louise
Rob
can
and
come.
John learned from our conversation.
They learned nothing. Can't you tell? They learn nothing from our advice.
We need to one time have a show where we talk to them about what they've gleaned from our show.
I want to know they're the guys on the crew. They're in the background and all of that. Excuse me. Well, the reason why I wanted to, we did have our regular core Women Unscripted, and that is Sharon Kistler, and we wanted to say thank you for all the years that you've been a Woman Unscripted with us. She heads up her own group called Amazing Women, and we also have Marianne, who comes on too every now and again, but every now and again, we have to change it up a little. Maura Sweeney is another one of our core members of the Women Unscripted, but I think we really need to open this up to just about anybody that is willing to come on to really kind of join the team to help one another. We've had some trying times today, but it's how we deal with them, and every single one of us are from a different area I mean, you guys are you're in Utah, Mary Louise. Emily, where are you, dear?
In Nutley, New Jersey.
Okay.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay. So,
She's by my sister.
Really?
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, my sister lives in New York, so yeah, a lot closer there.
So, and you're in Tarpon Springs, like 10
Yeah.
minutes from where I am in Tarpon Springs, and you're in Holiday. Man, you're about 10 minutes north.
Right.
Yeah, so it's really great to have you guys here. Let's talk about some of the things that are moving us today in a direction where maybe we may or may not want to go, because we've had to make some changes.
Oh, no.
Way
That
too
didn't come out
open
right.
for me.
That so did not come out right.
The way we may or may not want to go. Well, let's see. Let me
Okay,
count
Miss
the ways.
Giggler, I know you've got something to say. What have you been doing? You haven't been able to rock your babies.
No.
Helena rocks babies at the NICU.
And I don't know when we're going to be able to do that again. You know, for you that are not Florida residents, we just went to phase 3 here, so we supposedly a lot of more open, a lot less challenges with masks, et cetera, but rocking babies in the NICU may not be on the plate for a while. So I don't know when that's going to come back. And I really don't know what's going to be required of that, and not that we want to really get into a political conversation, I don't think, but I am not sure that I would want to take the COVID vaccine when it comes out, and I think that they would want us to do that at the hospital to rock the babies, and I just don't know that I would choose to do that. So,
And how long have you been rocking your babies? Oh, my God. Long time.
it's almost 5 years, and so it would be horrible not to do that again, but you know what, I have to also look at what's best for me.
Yeah.
I understand. Well, Helena has also been president chair for Johns Hopkins for a good little while now, too.
And the good news about Johns Hopkins, just real quick, is now both parents can visit the children, which
that's
is
awesome.
really, really good. I mean, if you were a child in the hospital, you would want both of your parents there. And so that's good. And we're going back and we're doing fundraisers again for the kids. And one of the Ronald McDonald houses is open. The other one still is not, as far as I know. But all of these things, contribute to not just the children, but to the community and the welfare for the families. Because when you've got someone sick in your family, obviously your whole family dynamics change. And so I've seen these families, they come in, they're like, they've got a sick child sometimes in a stroller or something like that, and then they've got these little baby ducks that are following them through the hospital.
Oh, my goodness.
And you realize that they can't just leave the kids somewhere. They don't have somewhere to leave the kids. And so many times it's whole families that are involved in this one child's illness. And so I do everything I can to support them, and we always want to support our communities, right?
Absolutely.
And Barb's really good at that, and doing that here with this show has been a wonderful vehicle for that.
It is. It's a thank you for that, and I couldn't do it without all you guys participating, and we're here to raise the awareness. We've done a number of shows on It Takes a Village. I know that's a used phrase for many of us, but it's really true. It does take a village, whether it's in a hometown, across the nation, or globally, and we go globally. If you have any friends that are watching, or you want to go ahead and post, girls, that you can interact with us now if you have any questions. Because you know what? We have lives just like you. We're no different than you in any way. We have challenges in life. We laugh. We cry. We have a lot of fun. And then sometimes we don't have a lot of fun. But it's how we deal with those moments of stress, duress, crisis, lack of, right? Missing out and all. But we also have the positive side of that. And the biggest thing that we feel is that we have balance, and trying to help our friends, family, neighbors to find that balance so that we can continue to push through whatever challenges we have. Now, when I sent out my notes today, the show notes that I always send before the show, it was about us all sharing something that in today's challenging times, which we've never ever seen before for the last, 6 months, that what is getting you through? What is getting us through? Where are we going? And I know that you've heard my husband and I do our shows on our lives rebuilt, and it seems like every day something pops up where we have to rebuild either a thought or renew or reboot a situation so that it goes into more of a positive note, especially when it comes to change. Because I don't know about you guys, but I'm a little resistant to change sometimes. So I don't know if you. What are you laughing about? That's not funny.
She is.
Oh, I get it. Because I really am resistant to change. If she knows digital technology. Right, Emily? Even Emily knows that.
Let's talk about when she was homeschooling JD.
The homeschooling.
And the people at the school said, "Could you put your grandson on the phone?"
Yes, yes.
And why? Why do you want to talk to my grandson? Because I think we could explain to him how to do this.
That's pretty sad. And you just announced that on worldwide global TV. Thank you.
If you can't laugh about
I
it.
owe you one. No, everybody knows that story because I thought it was pretty hysterical. Did you hear that, Steve? So that was my biggest challenge in the very first month. You want me to homeschool, JD? Really? Okay, come on. It'll be a piece of cake, right? So anyway, but let's just take a sort of like a round table and see how everybody is doing in the times today. I know, Emily, you've been having a little bit of a challenge with your dance school, right? So tell us
Yes.
how are things working out for you?
So it's been super challenging, obviously, with the mandatory closures from the government to keep everybody safe. We have had to close our studio. It was closed from March 13th, I believe, was the last day that we were in person until the beginning of August. And we, through that entire time, were running actually complimentary Zoom classes. We didn't charge anybody for those lessons. We ran a GoFundMe page for the business and then just asked for donations because of the totally new situation that everybody was finding themselves in. We didn't want people to feel pressured to have to pay for those classes, and we wanted kids to have some sense of normalcy as they were taking on this new homeschool challenge, and also for the parents, for them to be able to see that their kids can have some social aspect as well. So they were able to interact with other kids in the class, they can still interact with us. And we were amazed at their ability to adapt to this entire situation. Many of them took classes throughout the entire quarantine and actually improved significantly. We increased the number of fitness classes that they were taking each week. So a lot of them were taking sometimes 3 fitness classes a week. And because of that, became much more flexible, much more agile. As they started to come back into the live classes, they had a new sense of physicality, and then it just made it possible for them to develop even further and even a little bit faster when we could finally see them and develop them and keep going with it. So it's definitely been a struggle. My husband, truth be told, has taken on a brunt of that, so I can't take too much credit for everybody's success there. But what was really exciting for me about the whole process was it allowed me to kind of take a step back from that world and look at where I wanted to go career-wise, how I could help the school financially, as well as from the marketing perspective, and that's how my mom got me reintroduced to the Kayani company and the business aspect, and I was able to work really closely with Mary Louise, which has just been an absolute blessing beyond measure. And she's introduced me to the kinds of people that I thought I would only have the opportunity to work for in a corporate environment. And now I have the opportunity to work with these high quality executives and sales specialists and marketing specialists. So for me personally, it's just actually been an abundance of growth over these last couple of months. And I know it sounds a little bit crazy, but I'm pretty thankful for the situation that I've been put in and the opportunities that have come out of this really terrible global event. For me personally, has actually been just a great experience to grow and develop professionally. So,
Wow.
so I feel great, actually.
Boy, that was right on cue, and this was so unscripted and so unrehearsed. She had no idea what I didn't even know what I was going to say to you. But what I'm trying to find out is how everyone perceives something when crisis happens, turbulence around the world happens, and you really nailed it. And my husband and I feel the very, very same way because we just pushed through and moved on. So thank you for that. And what I picked up on that is it worked with getting the kids to exercise, which helped them in their dance lessons. And it's much healthier for them to do that by Zoom, doing the
absolutely.
Zoom. And Emily has a degree in marketing, and we meet every single day at 4 o'clock. It's the best meeting ever. We have fun. And we all it's a loving team of individuals that are in business together to really help others feel better and maybe make some changes in their lives. And Mary Louise, I'm going to come over to you. Thank you so much for Emily. I love that I get chills when I think about you with teaching kids to dance. It's just so amazing in spite of a pandemic, right? It was awesome.
Exactly.
And Mary Louise, you of course gave us an opportunity to kick our immune system up quite a few notches, and we've gotten to know you very, very well just in like the 7 months, even though you were kind of a blast from the past from about 25, 30 years ago. Isn't it interesting how when you keep the faith, you're not going to go down the road or path or journey of hopelessness or helplessness when you have people that come together for the right reasons. And we can never thank you enough, Mary Louise. How did you feel when this pandemic hit?
Well, gee, I was like hoping it was going to be over in a month.
Yeah, we did too.
Everybody, I think.
So, then it drug on to 2 and then 3. And I often describe it as the worst and the best year of my life. And that would be, it is a forced evolution. You know, they talk about adaptation is survival. And I literally am growing, you know, even at my age, which is 76, you know, most people are not in the fastest growth and development phase of their whole life at that age, and I am. And, you know, that's really consistent with who I am. I really am about being my best, experiencing the best of life, giving my best to life, and empowering others to the same. I just am about mastery. You know, that's, I know Emily can relate to that. In dance, it is about mastering movement. But when you're on the path of mastery, you're just on the path of mastery. And it shows up everywhere in your life. So, you know, adaptation. You know, a global marketing business adapts very well to the internet. And Emily is very humble. She has a degree in marketing, but she's literally brilliant. Mm-hmm. And she has worked tirelessly. That's a quality of a champion too. We will just do the work, and we will do the work and do the work and do the work every day, and we will do long, tedious hours every day. Mm-hmm. And no matter what, we're like really working for mastery. And so she's drawing on all of her education and then her life experience at the age of 12. She really is a little older than that. And she has, when you're a world-class competitor and she's top 50 in the world in ballroom dancing, that says a lot about who she is and her work ethic. And she's bringing that to our group. And, you know, we have computer engineers and graphic designers, and even my youngest son is helping us with materials, and he's in film and photography. And, you know, we're just all learning and growing. This is just such an intense time for us. Do I like it? No. But the change is amazing. Getting closer to family, closer to friends, closer to work, team. It's my first experience I've worked in Guyana now for 12 years, and we've had what we call a team, but the way we work together every day, solve problems, delve into it, dive deeply into understanding how we can adapt and grow the markets and empower the most people. I've never experienced anything like this before. It is just a blessing, a gift from God. So at the same time, the worst. No, what was that from Tale of Two Cities? Is the worst of times and the best of times?
Yeah, I've heard
Yeah,
that.
and it is that.
Well, I want to touch on something that happened to you a number of years ago that ended up having a good ending. On some of our other shows, we've opened up the show with an inspirational video of you and what happened to your son who fell out of a window. And it was very moving, that whole story, and how you dealt with that. And that moving forward, just give us that little synopsis on what made you, at that time, that was how many years ago? How old is Adam now?
Adam's 32, and he was only 18 months old, so about 30 years ago.
About 30 years ago. That had to be...
And he was just a little toddler, and it was a Mother's Day, if you can imagine.
Oh, my gosh.
Can you imagine the anniversary reaction every year to having your son almost killed on Mother's Day? But we were visiting some friends in California and seeing their new home, and we walked upstairs, and Adam pulled out of my hand as I was holding his hand up the stairs, and he went into the room ahead, but it was an empty room. They hadn't moved in yet. So I'm thinking, no danger. We just looked all around downstairs with no furniture, nothing to get into. And there was a bank, a whole wall of ceiling to floor windows, which I've never seen. And a baby's never seen a screen at his own height, and the latch was broken. He reached out his hand and pushed the screen and was out just as I was coming in the room. And I had such a severe mind shock. The room turned into a long, dark tunnel. My husband, I told him I wasn't screaming. I couldn't even scream. He says, "You were screaming," and I don't even remember that. So he had a fractured skull in 3 places, and had some issues, neurological issues, but yet, we worked with the doctors on that. And I think he recovered much faster than I did. Mm-hmm. And finally, his godmother, who's a psychiatrist, she said, you've got post-traumatic stress disorder, Mary Louise, and that doesn't go away on its own. You have every single symptom. And she said, you need to spend some time away from that baby every day. The two of you are clinging to each other like you'd die if you let go. And we were. And so I saw an ad in the paper one Sunday morning for Taekwondo, and it talked about focus and concentration, of which I had none. And it talked about self-confidence, and mine was shattered. If you can't keep your baby safe, how good are you? So I went in to see him, and it was like the Mr. Miyagi in Karate Kid. He just had a wisdom about him and didn't treat me like an older woman. He didn't look around and say, well, where are the kids? And he gave me a uniform, said, put this on. I just was checking it out, and he's like, put this on, and a master tells you put this on, so you just go do it. And I had a lesson, and it was like somebody threw me a life preserver. It just really did settle my focus, and everything and what they advertised was true. And he said, come back tomorrow, and I did. And the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day. Then, long story short, I'm a 6-degree black belt and was 20-time U.S. national gold medalist and a 9-time world champion. So, needless to say, I took to it.
So I'm just observing what you're saying here and taking you back to that nightmarish day and how you develop strength to move forward. And even though we've never had a pandemic before, we're in a situation that, do you think you pulled from the same strength that is making you even stronger today to push through all the craziness?
I would say yes. My mom called me a bulldog with a bone. And I've got that really strong, powerful mind, but I'm telling you something, I was shattered.
I bet.
I would not have done that alone. So it again was Mr. Miyagi, who was Master Kim in Vallejo, California. And it was, my dear friend, the baby's godmother, all of my friends and family. I would not have done that by myself.
No.
And it's a process. It's not one day to the next. And, it takes a certain certain choice, to always choose for aliveness. Some people would be shattered and they would stay there or start drinking or, have that kind of reaction. Mine has always been to, I'm going to take this on. I'm going to master this. And that, that's an interesting point. I've actually written a lot on the path of mastery and the benefit of it. When you master technique, and you have to master yourself to be a champion. And that is a constant path. And in business, we can't do business the way we did before. So we adapt and we begin to master this new. And again, we wouldn't do any of this on our own. I started leading an exercise class on Zoom. I mean, I taught martial arts for 20 years. And I can't go out to the gym, so I just told a few friends and said, well, I'll lead an exercise class. Listen, this is getting so great. Now the Kayani Healthy Living Hub wants to put the videos on their website like that. And I do things on that class and do it consistently that I wouldn't do on my own. Yeah. My mind would talk me out of it. I was like, I'll get to it later. Oh yeah, it's okay, not today. Like that. But when people are there waiting for you online, and then I have to prepare, and I will actually push myself to really strengthen with them where I would not on my own.
I think it's because you have people that are relying on you. I know that's one of the traits in my husband, who is also a world martial arts champion, and he has that dedication that he does not want to let people down. And that's exactly what I sense in the trait with you, because it's nonstop. And it is about the mastery. It's learning how to master these different techniques that can be a pain where many times, but if we keep doing the same thing over and over, it can go one way or another. It can go to mastery, or it can go to insanity. Would you not agree, girls? So we learn by example, and then we end up leading by example. And of course, you're certainly doing that. What I heard from both of you gals so far was what your driving force is Emily, you and your husband are doing anything to keep that school going because you love your children and you love to see that growth. You love to see them experience the beauty of dance and learning how to master it. Is it that love, that whole love thing?
Yeah, the whole love thing. Kids are incredible. And if you talk about being able to adapt, that's what they do. They haven't had a choice. And what I've found recently is actually their ability to take the situation and just do whatever they have to do. Some of them as young as, talking about the homeschooling stuff, as young as 12 and 13 years old, they're managing their own schooling. Absolutely. Which is like crazy. Yeah. It's an insane thing to ask these kids to do, but often that's the situation that they're in. Their parents have to work from home. They get the links, they have to sign on, they have to figure it out. And we find that they're adapting much better because of the skills that we're able to work with them in terms of time management and keeping them, focused. They already have had experience in focusing on one thing for a long period of time in a familiar setting. So it's not like a regular school experience now where they can go from room to room and they have different teachers for different things. They're sitting in their house at the same computer from usually, like on average, from 8:30 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon with a 30-minute break for lunch.
Wow.
And it's a crazy thing to ask them to do. I mean, we're not obviously going into politics on any of that, but it is the case. So our stance has always been, what can we do to make that situation a little bit easier for them and a little bit easier for their parents? And I think in terms of talking about mastery and leading, taking on that leadership role is a massive responsibility. And it's one that I think, Mary Louise, you would agree, and even Chrisula, with your athletic experience, not a lot of trainers take that responsibility very seriously.
Absolutely.
And it's something that we take very seriously. This is not a lot of the kids that we teach, we're very well aware of the fact that they might not go on, and very likely will not go on to become professional dancers. But the skills that they're learning, the attention to detail, the focus, the concentration, the commitment, the dependability. They have to work with a partner. They have to be responsible for their own time. They have to show up on time. Many of them are coming from home on their own, either walking or on public transportation, coming straight from home if they have that day in school. So they're learning all of these time management skills at a very young age. Many of them start traveling and competing at an international level as young as 13, 12 years old. So same kind of system. I was competing internationally at 16 and flying on my own to competitions. So I had to show up at the airport on time, make sure I had my passport, and do all of these things on my own that many people my age, they were traveling with their parents. They didn't have to learn that same responsibility. So I think it gives sports, dance, the arts, anything that you can really attribute to the competitiveness for these kids is going to benefit them, whether they want to be the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, if they want to be a neurosurgeon, if they want to own a bakery. All of these attributes are going to be important for their success. So it's our responsibility as their example to do the same thing. And that's why I love doing what I'm doing, because they can see that for the last 15 years, I've done one thing and been super focused. And now I'm going to look into trying to do something else. And I take everything that I've learned and put that towards this new project. And it's a beautiful thing. And I think it's an incredible example also for them, that they can see that transition, whether they want to wait 10 years out of school or they want to do it right away. It's possible. And showing them that possibility is that's what we do.
But what a gift. What a gift.
Absolutely.
You are giving each and every one of those kids the gift of confidence.
That's right.
Because if they're confident in this area of the dance and the exercise that you've been teaching, they can take that out, and it goes over into their schooling. It goes over into their being able to fly somewhere. And you obviously are very confident. And so as you and your husband have teaching this in your class, you talk about mastery. The mastery that you're teaching them is a gift that some children never get.
That's right.
Never get.
That's
from
right.
their parents or from other teachers. They never get that. And we were talking before the show started about confidence in older adults as well. Sometimes we lose our confidence as older adults, and it's very hard to get it back. And so God bless you for what you're doing.
Absolutely. And
thank you.
What I love the way you delivered this message, because you're teaching those kids exactly what you did at the age of 16, and the discipline of these skill sets will stay with them forever, and you're leaving an open road for them that,
Absolutely.
hey, if you want to be a professional dancer, yeah, you can. If you want to go off, do that for a part-time and then try something else, that's okay, without any judgment. So the lessons are mastery lessons in life, and that is exactly what I've learned, is learning how to do that, because it prepares us for the next unknown circumstance, and there will be some. So God bless you for that. And that leads me into Chrysula. For example, you're talking about athletes. I mean, this gal is a triathlete. Tell us exactly what you have to do to train to be a triathlete.
We enjoy swimming, we enjoy running, and we enjoy biking.
Sometimes.
And we, one day a month, or actually my group, one day a week, they hang out and they do a mini tri every weekend. So,
Every weekend?
Yeah,
Wow.
every Saturday. So it's a lot of work, but like you said, you enjoy it. It's passion. It's just that's how we thrive, right? When we're doing something, helping ourselves, learning, teaching, and what is it? A great behind every, what is that, every good person, or there's another saying.
Behind every man is a good woman. Is that the one you were thinking about?
Yeah, that too.
How many's going to raise their hand on that one?
No, there's a,
I know
the
what you're saying.
philosophy in the Eastern philosophy is that if you can teach, right? If you can teach someone something, then that means you mastered it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I love that because they hold teachers with such respect and regard, and that's what we need here in the United States is to think that
respect.
way, right? To respect our teachers, to respect, yeah, absolutely. So
You're so right about that. And when I remember when you started your tours of Tarpon, Chrysula's tours, it was right when this hit.
yeah, I know.
I mean, just
I know.
let us know. How did that feel for you? She's ready to do tours in Tarpon, and we have such an artsy community
Oh, my
with
goodness.
so much beauty.
You guys
and,
would die
and-
laughing.
And she's an icon. She's like the Greek mastery there in Tarpon, and you were getting everything like shut down.
Yeah.
What's up with
Yeah,
that?
That was crazy. It was crazy, crazy, crazy. So we had, 100 people coming this week. Next week we have another couple hundred, and we're getting all stacked up for every month, having all these people and everything. And all of a sudden January comes around, and I'm like going, oh, there's something going on. And then February, and then it's like, oh my goodness, everybody I had to refund and pull back and all that. And, and I too am grateful to Mary Louise because oh my gosh, this product is amazing, Mary Louise. So my husband and I started trying the product and all that, and my husband did a month, and the nitric oxide, and I don't know, it's amazing. So my husband did it more for his health, brain and all that. He's 76 years old. I did it for athletic-wise, right? So amazing, amazing. I love it. I take it everywhere with me. When I go swimming, they're like, what are you doing? Like, it's my juice. It's my juice. It's my juice. So the nitric oxide, I use it all the time. Even my husband uses it all the time. But so I'm excited, and I only heard a little bit about the new product that's coming out. So Miss Barbara, you're gonna explain a little more about it. I wasn't able to make the call, so yeah, I'm pretty good.
But you're not giving up on your being a triathlon.
No, I'm not giving up on
And you're not
anything.
giving up on your tours. You're
Or
going to find a way to push
nothing.
through,
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You only go forward. You can't, in South America, there's a saying, no vas como los cangrejos, right? You don't go backwards like the scorpions. You go forward.
I
right?
love that.
So,
I bet Mike used to say that.
oh, my dad, yeah.
Your dad. God bless you, Mike. We know you're there watching over us all. Never give up. And there are no boundaries.
No boundaries.
His dad,
Limitless.
her dad.
No limits, right, ladies?
That's right. Life with
No
no
limits.
limits. I think we can all sort of agree with that based on what we've been listening to today. And, of course, I want to thank you for that. And I really didn't coach Chrysula to talk about those products or anything. It wasn't, you just
Yeah.
kind of blurted out what
Oh,
was
yeah.
from your heart. But, what is it that drives you to keep moving forward? It's
With
certainly...
the products or with...
No, with just life in general. You have a very close-knit family. You know how the Greeks are, right? And I say that with my favorite four-letter word, Love. And you have a close-knit family, and a lot of them.
Yes.
And your dad. Let's talk about Mike for just a minute, okay?
Okay.
Do you think he was the driving force?
Oh my goodness, yes. So he was just an amazing man. You know what I loved about what he said? This is one of my favorite talks that I had with him. I'm like, Dad, so, what'd you think about all the businesses? Because he always had more than one business going on. He's always running here and there, traveling around the world. And I said, so how was it? How hard was it? And he looked at me, he goes, honey, I didn't work. I had fun. I'm like, oh my gosh, there you go. That was it. It was his passion. He had so much passion that everything he touched was amazing. He just boom, boom, boom. And And he enjoyed it. You saw my dad. My dad was never upset. He was up till 12. Mary Louise, he was up till 1 a.m. in the morning when guests would come over. And then he was up at 4:30 every single morning. It didn't matter at all. So it was, definitely he was
unscripted and limitless with
Yes.
what he could do. Let's tell
Thank
everybody
you, Mike.
who your dad.
Thank you, Mike. Let's go.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you, Mike, for sure. Tell everybody who your dad was here on Earth and who he still is in our memories.
Oh my gosh, my dad. Okay, Mike Salikas. So
You'll
he
love
was
this.
the youngest Eagle Scout, right? He was at 14 years old in the United States. His parents immigrated from Greece. So after he became an Eagle Scout, he started, he was always wanting to do stuff. So when he would find out when the circuses were around, so he would go and get little rats and actually have them multiply and then go and give them to the different, I know, he was so crazy. So anything he could do, he'd go down to Miami and he'd get the mealy worms, the little worms from the Everglades, pounds of them and ship them off. Snakeskin, this, that, whatever it was.
Chipmunk.
I mean, it's funny, before they drafted him, right, because he was drafted, he was making about $2,500 a week. And my dad was born 26, so you figure around, 26, 36, that's 10. So around the 40s, right, 14, 15, he was already, oh my gosh, doing his own thing. So he traveled around the world. He ended up going to Brazil. Brazil, they told him, go to Colombia. There's great places for animals. So my father went to Colombia. That's where he met my mother. And then we came along.
Then the rest was history. Well, you know,
Yes.
the thing I'm trying to pull from that is your tenacity and your love of life and love of your family. And I think that's what really helps to push us all through
That's
anything
the best
and
smile I've seen
everything.
on your face all day.
Yeah.
My
See?
dad.
We're talking about
My
her dad. See?
He's my man.
I know. We all had the
He's my
pleasure. Helena and I had a chance to meet Mike. What a character.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
the
my
stories.
goodness.
Oh, the stories.
The stories were just
You know I love the
absolutely
stories.
amazing. Oh my goodness. And I want to thank you for that, because we all have something that drives us, and I can't think of anything any better than the emotion of love. It is the driving force. It will get us through anything. And of course, in my belief, as well as I know my girls here, we have a strong foundation of faith that helps to push through. It's really easy to pass the buck in prayer and say, here you go, it's all yours. And then watch the miracles happen, and they will happen. And speaking of miracles, I'm not leaving my dear friend Tinkerbella out of the picture here, because I think this one is a miracle worker
Yes,
in
she
the
is.
community, doing all kinds of different things. And I know it saddens us that you can't rock your babies right now. We've laughed and we've cried on this show a number of times whenever you talk about those babies.
But
And
you
I
know, I've kind of had to switch it a little bit because I can't do that. And
Yeah.
so, and you know this, we've lost some friends this past year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very sad when you get to the age where you're starting to lose your friends and perhaps your spouses. And what can we do? What can we do to help that transition? And so as I've seen this happen, I've just like you have products that you have found that help you with yours, I found products that are helping me and my friends get through this transitional time. And it's not just about products. I mean, I just had a talk on a women's group recently about hacks for aging, aging hacks, just little things. Some of them are as simple as I have arthritis in my thumbs, and I sometimes will lose my grip on a glass, particularly a mug, or my coffee. Oh, heaven forbid that I should. Heaven forbid that I should drop my coffee.
Correct.
That's true. It's not good. But it was a simple little thing about taking rubber bands and just kind of rolling them up on the mug or on the cup, and it helps you with your grip. So you put 2 or 3, you roll them up, and you can leave them on there. I mean, they would even go through the dishwasher, for example. And so little things like that. I have friends that have felt some kind of food deprivation or scarcity of food. And so I've helped them find, because when you're in the midst of this, when you're in the midst of a health crisis, probably at any age, but particularly at our age, you don't know, you forget. You forget to use the tools you already have. Many of us have tools.
Oh, yes.
We have a whole tool bag full of tools.
Yeah.
But when we're in the midst of a crisis, we sometimes forget to use our tools.
That's right. You can't think.
But you know what? Isn't that because we're supposed to be around and help each other? It's that.
Absolutely.
It's not, oh, I am Wonder Woman. I can do everything. No, it's to have that love and to be able to say, look, I'm sorry I did this. What can we do? Let's help each other out. I mean, we have so many different things that are going on right now that is.
But I think we've lost that. I think that this was something that we were raised with, and somehow maybe the younger generations, number one, they want to be Superwoman. They don't want to ask for help. I mean, none of us want to ask for help, but when you think about the fact, if I ask you for help, I'm giving you the opportunity to be blessed by being a giver.
That's right.
And I forget that because I want to be the giver all the time. I want to be the giver all the time.
So, Missy,
So
you
now-
need to learn how to receive.
No, right, but I have,
That's
before I can receive, I have to ask.
yeah.
And it's been very hard for me to ask, but I'm observing my friends who are hurting. You know Joanne, and before she passed, did she ask for much? Almost nothing.
Nothing.
From me, she asked for
She
nothing.
didn't ask for anything.
And we would have done for her. We would have taken her meals.
Oh, my
we would have
gosh.
done these things. And what I'm seeing is this is a pattern. And so I'm putting together a book of all these little resources, not just rubber bands by any means, but resources. Where are you going to find food? Because there are agencies that will help seniors. There are agencies that will help with transportation to a hospital for your needs, your chemo or whatever. There are things to be done, and yet, I want it to be a simple, easy place. All your resources can be found right there because
I
they
like
don't
that.
have time
I like
when
that.
they're in the middle of the crisis.
And you started this way before this pandemic.
Yes.
The name of your Facebook page for anyone that is interested to look for resources, this is your girl right here. It's Fly Into Our, is it Fly Into Your or Our?
Fly into your vintage years.
And there's a lot of really good information on there.
And right now I have the PDF of the book free there. It's not complete by any means, but everything we've talked about today, whether it's mastering and exercise and dance and Tai Chi that you and Master Kelly do, these are all wonderful things. But at some point, you're going to transition to a point that you need some other help.
So maybe it's how we have to think about it before we get to that age.
That's right.
we
That's
have
why
to
I'm
sit there-
talking about it now.
Because
That's for those that aren't that have all. It's not for the ones that have already prepared for those. It's for the ones that really have.
And it's for the caregiver. The book is more for the caregivers
Yes.
because the one who's sick,
right.
they're not even, some of them can't
can't-
even read because
right.
they can't, their medications are making them incapable of reading or having any attention and all that.
Right.
But the other, there are so many other areas that I cover in there. There's legal issues that have to be covered. There are financial things that need to be covered. I don't cover them myself but I worked 20 years in finance. I mean, I know these things have to be taken care of, and so I
Oh
put
my
that
God.
in there.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm sorry, but you got to ask me the same thing. I just got something in my head for you.
Okay.
Well, I just want to let Mary Louise and Emily know, too, that Helena is also a publisher.
Yay!
And so...
I just published a book on grief. I mean, it wasn't my book, it was somebody else's book, but I just published a person's book on grief.
Mine?
No, I just published a person's book, a new book on grief.
And I think that your ideas of putting this out there is such a great resource because... Remember when we started the Triage Tribe? It was a year ago, August, when somebody went down on the dance floor.
Yeah. But
I thought
you
it was
need
2
to
years
get
ago, August.
Could have been 2 years.
You need to get a hold of Mary Louise's son and make that book into an app for your phone.
Oh, no, grandson.
I mean, grandson.
Grandson, Gabriel.
Gabriel. Because
Oh, yeah.
what you have there, can you imagine having it on your phone?
That's a great
so you
idea.
Can go, anywhere and say, oh, you know what? This is a reference for what? Oh, yeah, okay.
You know, it really is because, like you were saying, we've lost several friends this past year. It's really been rough, and we've watched the caregiver. And when you're right in the thick of it, Mary Louise, I'm preaching to the choir. You were a caregiver for how many years with your husband?
5.5.
5.5
I hate the word, by the way.
I do too. I do too. I do.
I hear that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you lose who you are. You become a caregiver.
I know.
Instead of being a wife or mother or friend, you know, and I just think it depersonalizes it.
I know.
We, of course, care for those we love and help them, but I hate that word caregiver.
But do you agree that they're, well, maybe not for you, but I think maybe for the average person that doesn't expect to be in a situation like that, to be able to have sources right at their fingertips to be able to check into.
Yes, and the people who take care of people who are dying or are debilitated and incapacitated, they need some respite.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
They really, really need resources because you can literally lose yourself in doing that care.
And we all know you can't give from an empty well. And so that's so important. And I talk about that in the book. And, you know, the idea of, and you've been there, you know this. And we've lived it with our friends recently, you know. And in one case, for sure, the caregiver is the one who got sick and she's the one who passed. And so we saw it happen, and it often happens because the caregiver is so dedicated to giving to everyone else that they don't take care of their own needs.
Yeah, and there's something about too that you don't get to have your emotions.
No, you have to hide them.
Yeah, you have to be there. You have to carry the load. I had to carry the financial load, the managing the home, the care. You just have to be everything for everybody, and there's nothing coming this way.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
It's like you're just doing it all out.
Yeah.
And we need those kinds of resources, and it was really my friends and family too that helped me through that time.
Absolutely.
And
I bet you learned to ask.
And the work. People say, how can you work with your husband so ill? And I go, are you kidding me? That's recess.
That's your salvation.
right.
That was your salvation,
That's right.
I bet.
That's right.
You know what? I have
That
to
was
tell
my time off.
Exactly, and to be able to get away from it so that you can think again. We only have a few minutes left, and in closing, I'm going to give you my definition of a caregiver that I told my husband when he was when we finally
You're going to love this, Mary Lou.
when we both finally faced the music. When he was diagnosed sort of semi-officially with Parkinson's. When I noticed he was starting to walk the fallen walk and different little things and a little bit of the tremor here and there, and we were both just looking the other way. And finally, I asked him a couple of times, well, why are you walking that way? My back hurts. Why are you walking that way? My neck hurts. And it just went on like that. And once we heard the news, I looked at him and I said, I love you more than anything, but I'm not a caregiver. However, this is what I will do, the extent of my caregiving, but not as a caregiver. You see our oak tree out front? I will definitely tie you to that tree. I will hose you down. A couple of times out of the week, I will feed you 3 square meals a day. That's it. So start walking straight, start getting your act together, and that's it. And I said that with a straight face before.
Or I've got the rope.
Or what?
Or you're buying the rope.
We'll have to go by there and make sure Master Kelly's all right.
But you know what? I said that with a straight face, and then I couldn't hold on to it, and I laughed, and it kind of broke the ice for it. So I guess what this whole show is about is really coming from love, and I was coming from love, and guess what? Yeah. My husband is walking straighter now.
Yeah.
And he's not tied to the tree as far as
He's not tied to the tree. I still mention it to him once in a while if he forgets here for a moment. But it takes the tenacity and it takes the mastery of every single component in our lives. And if we come from love in everything we do, and we can always find that spot, no matter how angry we are about something, no matter how somebody cuts us off on a road or whatever. If we just kind of kick back just for a few seconds and go, you know what, they didn't really mean to do that.
right.
That's the trouble with the world today, is you see all the nonsense out in the streets. You think those people are coming from love. I'm not sending any blame or judgment or anything like that. All I know is what I can do with my little self right here on this show and bringing the message out to everyone. You know, you see people on TV and you think, you know, TV people have so much going for them. They're all this and that. You never see them sad or crying or anything. Guess what? You heard stories from every single one of us gals today where life wasn't always a bowl of cherries, and many times we felt ourselves in the pits.
And there's a story to be had for a future show. We could talk about somebody coming over to be Baker acted, but
that was uncalled for.
I wanted to just share that we do have a viewer.
Yeah. Oh,
we
that
have a
was
viewer
good.
from Glasgow, Scotland.
Oh,
today.
it's Maria, I bet.
Maria is, and she says she's your number one fan.
I love
so I
it.
just wanted to give a shout out to Maria. I don't
Maria.
know you, but hey, we're so glad you're here. And so anyway, there are lots of stories to be had, and
There
we'll be
are.
glad to share them with you. And we love to hear from you.
That's
too.
right. So that's right. Thanks for Maria coming on board today. What we're going to do is we're going to sign off today from Women Unscripted, and hopefully the girls will be able to come back another time, and I hope that we have left you with some motivation, inspiration, a few laughs, maybe even, you almost got me on the tears with the babies today.
I know,
almost.
me too. I was like,
You too? I know, but we didn't. We're all coming from love, and we hope that you will think about that. If you need some inspiration, you can always get in touch with any of us. Private message. We are all on Facebook, and we'll be happy to share our little tips of wisdom. And in the meantime, we're going to throw you a great big kiss and say God bless. Mwah! Thanks for joining us today. Take care. Bye.
Bye bye.